Greetings, new and regular listeners from around the world. This is Henrik Palmgren. You are listening to Red Ice Radio. RedIceCreations.com is the website. Go there for more information about our radio program, TV shows, and our member section. The place where we offer you a smörgåsbord, as we say, of various topics, guests, and research material. Pick what you want and leave the rest, but we do encourage you to try something else out now and then. Listen, learn, keep an open mind, and be skeptical. This is not about blindly believing the alternative either. Today we have Stephen Greer with us from the disclosureproject.org. Stephen and his group caught my attention back in 2001 when they had the conference of witnesses and whistleblowers speaking out about the UFO ET question and disclosure at the National Press Club in the US. Stephen joins us today to talk about his work and the latest media attention that Stephen Hawking received by stating that it might be dangerous for humans to attempt to contact or even talk to ET. We also have the free energy question, the disclosure issue, and many other things on the plate. So let's get to it. Stephen Greer, welcome to Red Ice Radio. Nice to have you with us.
Thank you very much. I'm very glad to join you.
Excellent. Let's begin then, Stephen, to talk about another Stephen Hawking in this case, and his statement basically about not making contact with ET. And the possibility that they might even be dangerous and hostile to humans. This has went all around the world in the media. Larry King did his part, a segment called Are Aliens a Threat as well. Much can be said about this, obviously. But Stephen, what is your take on all of this?
Well, my take on it is that Stephen Hawking, while perhaps bright in some areas, knows nothing of this subject. First of all, he doesn't acknowledge the obvious fact that we're already being visited by very advanced interstellar civilizations. And number two, that if they were hostile, this would have been made quite evident by now, since they were involved in doing reconnaissance of our nuclear weapons experiments back in the 40s and 50s, and we have since then gone into space. So clearly, if there was a hostile intent behind these civilizations, this would have been expressed in an unmistakable way. And I think the third point is that when people say these things, which you see a great deal in Hollywood, for example, there's so many movies like Independence Day and War of the Worlds and what have you, it's really a projection of the human condition. It's sort of an anthropocentric projection of the conflict and the wars and the strife we have on this planet. And then we project it onto our imagination of what these other civilizations are like. In reality, if you are capable of traveling through interstellar space, which means you have to be able to travel faster than the speed of light, we can get into this in a moment, you possess such technological prowess that there would be nothing on Earth that they would need. For example, you're able to materialize and dematerialize at different points in space-time and also manifest whatever it is that you would need. Moreover, there are probably millions, if not billions, of planets that are like the Earth, that have life on them and minerals and what have you, that are the way the Earth was, say, 500 million years ago when there was no human civilization on the planet, and yet there was abundant life. There would be no need to come to a planet such as Earth, as Stephen Hawking presents, to colonize it or to get our mineral wealth or what have you. This is sort of a childish projection of our own behavior over the last few thousand years, where we have invaded each other and taken over various lands to get minerals or to get territory. And I think it really speaks more to his own worldview and his own perhaps insecurities than it does to any scientific analysis of what the facts would be. And I think that in addition to that, it's a rather dangerous thing. You know, there are a couple of Lockheed Martin scientists who have come out with a book in the last few years basically saying the same thing. And you wonder, why would Lockheed Martin have their scientists putting out such scary scenarios? Well, the people who benefit from developing very advanced weapon systems, such as SDI and weaponizing space, would benefit a great deal from convincing the public that there is a threat out in space.
Right.
And as we know from some of our Disclosure Project witnesses, such as Werner von Braun's assistant, Dr. Carol Rosen, one of the things that Werner von Braun warned about on his deathbed was that there was a scheme, a plan afoot to present the extraterrestrial issue in a frightening way so that there would be a sort of a payday for the military-industrial financial complex that's, currently about $1 trillion a year in spending. But if you could convince the whole world there's a threat out in space, you could build that $1 trillion a year military complex into something maybe that's $2 or $3 or $4 trillion. So I think that there are other motivations afoot. Now, whether Stephen Hawking is part of such a motivation is an open question. I can't say he is or isn't.
Yeah.
But his line of thinking conforms to the type of manipulation of the mass psychology that you see with scientists from Lockheed Martin and other big defense contractors who would profit enormously from eventually announcing that there is life out there, but that it's a threat and we should marshal our forces to fight them, even though there's not a scintilla of evidence that they are hostile.
I mean, exactly. This is very interesting because people have argued that a staged fake alien invasion might even be in the planning here, so to speak, and reasons for this might be, just as you say, weaponization of space and things like that. I guess if we go back to Wernher von Braun again and some of the things that Carolyn Roslin brought out, his assistant, and do you think he should be trusted as well, considering his background, where he come from, so to speak?
I think that, yes, on this issue, he would be trusted in the sense that he knew personally of this plan. Now, he's not our only source. You have to remember that I've been involved since 1993 briefing people like the CIA director and the senior Pentagon officials on this matter, as well as heads of state around the world. And what I have found is that there is a very classified project that most of our leaders are not aware of that involves presenting this issue in a way that's very frightening, and they have enlisted the media and Hollywood to do this. I have a document from the 1950s from the CIA, for example, where they talk about engaging Disney studios to make movies on this subject that would run to the favor of their agenda, and they talk about the psychological warfare, I'm quoting, value of the UFO subject. And I think that you have to ask the question, who is behind this whole thing? And I think it is sort of like a false flag operation. Now, we have a witness in 1997 when I was doing briefings for Congress in Washington. We assembled a private gathering, and we had many members of Congress there. And this is outlined in my book, Hidden Truth, Forbidden Knowledge, that came out a couple years ago. That's at disclosureproject.org. And at this meeting, we had a man who had been on some of the planning sessions where they were planning to do exactly what you brought up, and that is to hoax an alien attack on the planet, where they had what are called ARVs, alien reproduction vehicles, which are man-made flying saucers that are made by Lockheed Martin and Northrop and a consortium of other companies, and that they would use them to attack various places on the Earth to make it look like it was extraterrestrial, so that the world would go into sort of a panic that they could then capitalize on, much the way the world, has now spent about $2 trillion on the Iraq and Afghanistan wars based on 9/11.
Right.
So I think what people have to understand is that you have people who are very skilled at manipulating mass psychology, and for about 40 or 50 years, there has been a plan afoot that I've had personal knowledge of from people who've been on the inside of the planning of these sort of events. And it's not just one person like Wernher von Braun. It's a number of people who have told me